From Biggie getting shot by ops in LA.
Before you know it, a car just rolled up, started popping in the car. Didn't say nothing, didn't yell nothing.
To Nipsey Hussle being gunned down outside his own clothing store.
He was fighting the whole time. He fought hard. Up until he went to the hospital, he was still breathing and he was doing good.
For decades, rival gangs have claimed the lives of some of rap's biggest names, from Tupac to King Von. In this video, we're looking at rappers who were killed by rival gangs, starting with Tupac Shakur. 8. We gotta start with the king himself. Tupac Amaru Shakur, known to the world as Tupac, wasn't just a rapper. Nah, he was a poet, an actor, a revolutionary voice for a generation, and arguably the most influential hip-hop artist to ever touch a mic. Pac's life was marked by controversy and conflict, you know what I'm saying? The mid-90s saw hip-hop split down the middle in what would become known as the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, a beef that would claim two of the greatest rappers who ever lived. On the night of September 7th, 1996, after attending the Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon boxing match at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Tupac and his Death Row crew got into a physical altercation with Orlando Anderson, a known Southside Crips member, right there in the casino lobby. Cameras caught the whole thing, Pac and his crew stomping out Anderson on the floor. Later that night, while riding passenger in Suge Knight's black BMW on the Las Vegas Strip, bumping Pac's own music, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside them at a red light. Shots rang out into the night. Multiple bullets struck Tupac, hitting him in the chest, pelvis, and lung. He fought for his life for 6 days at University Medical Center. But on September 13th, 1996, at age 25, he was fatally shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas, Nevada, amid the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. The attack is widely attributed to Southside Crips members as retaliation for a prior assault on Orlando Anderson, a Crips affiliate. Keith D., a former member of the Crips gang and main suspect in Tupac's murder, has done countless interviews on how he remembers Pac's death.
I seen a bullet going Suge head. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
But if you thought Tupac's murder was devastating, wait till you hear what happened just 6 months later to his East Coast rival. The notorious B.I.G. Biggie was an East Coast icon from Brooklyn, signed to Bad Boy Records, famous for Ready to Die and tracks like Juicy. Under the guidance of Sean Puffy Combs, who would later become known as Puff Daddy and then Diddy, Biggie crafted a sound that was simultaneously street and sophisticated, gritty, and polished. He had loose ties to Junior Mafia, the collective that included his protege Lil' Kim, and like his West Coast rival, Biggie found himself caught in the middle of the coastal feud that was tearing hip-hop apart. Just 6 months after Tupac's death, on March 9th, 1997, Biggie was in Los Angeles for the Soul Train Music Awards and a promotional visit for his upcoming album, Life After Death. After leaving a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum, Biggie sat in the passenger seat of a GMC Suburban when a black Chevy Impala SS pulled up beside them at a red light on Wilshire Boulevard. A gunman opened fire, striking Biggie 4 times. On March 9th, 1997, at age 24, he was killed in a drive-by in Los Angeles, California, believed to be retaliation for Tupac's death, possibly orchestrated by Mob Peru Bloods or Death Row affiliates. Lil Cease, who was with Biggie that night, remembered the incident saying,
Before you know it, a car just rolled up, started popping in the car. Didn't say nothing, didn't yell nothing. And then we all peeked, looked around, big door went open.
He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. The King of New York was gone, just 16 days before his 25th birthday, Fast forward to the 2010s, and a new generation of rappers in Chicago was about to face the same deadly fate, but with social media making everything even more dangerous. Lil Jojo. Chicago had become the epicenter of a new wave of rap music called drill, an aggressive, confrontational style that pulled no punches, called out rivals by name, and turned gang beefs into entertainment for the masses. At the heart of this movement was a young kid from the South Side named Joseph Coleman, better known as Lil Jojo. At just 18 years old, Jojo had already made a name for himself in Chicago's volatile drill scene. His music was raw and unfiltered, speaking directly about the gang warfare that consumed the South Side. BDK stood for Black Disciples Killer, a direct challenge to one of Chicago's most notorious gangs. That wasn't just a song, that was a declaration of war. You feel me? The drill scene was different. From what came before it, my G, social media had changed the game completely. Beefs that once stayed on the streets, or in rap lyrics now played out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram in real time. Disrespect could be broadcast instantly to thousands of followers, and threats could be made public for the world to see. On September 4th, 2012, at age 18, he was shot while riding a bike in Chicago's South Side, killed by Black Disciples' rivals in retaliation for his dices. The bullet struck him multiple times, and he was pronounced dead shortly after, blood staining the concrete where he fell. He was only 18 years old, barely an adult, with his whole life ahead of him. King Yella spoke about Lil JoJo's death and the aftermath, saying,
"It was real. After JoJo got killed and that shit started getting real, that shit was different. And it was just that fast. It happened so fast. So fast."
But JoJo wouldn't be the last talented Chicago rapper to fall victim to the drill scene's deadly beefs. The next artist we're about to talk about was considered one of the most gifted lyricists to come out of the Young Pappy. The tragedy of Chicago's drill scene continued with another young talent whose life was cut short before he could reach his full potential, and this one hits different, fam. Shaquan Thomas, known in the streets and on the internet as Young Pappy, was one of the most gifted lyricists to come out of Chicago's North Side during the drill era. And when I say gifted, I mean this dude could really, really rap. Young Pappy was a Chicago drill artist from the North Side, affiliated with Team 600, famous for killer and viral freestyles. But Young Pappy was also deeply embedded in Chicago's gang culture. You understand? His affiliation with Team 600, a faction of the Gangster Disciples, meant he was automatically at odds with several rival groups across the city. Pappy's music videos and songs frequently called out rivals, naming names, mocking dead ops, and the response from opposing gangs was often equally aggressive. On May 29, 2015, at age 20, he was shot in Chicago by unknown rivals, likely Black Disciples, amid ongoing drill beefs. Young Pappy was gunned down in the Uptown neighborhood, struck by multiple bullets. He was rushed to the hospital, but succumbed to his injuries. He was only 20 years old, still in the early stages of what could have been an incredible career, what could have been legendary. Young Pappy's brother, Taysav, wasn't surprised by his brother's death, considering the kind of lifestyle he chose. Taysav spoke about this saying,
"Stepping outside from him being my brother, I wasn't like, them type of things happen to them type of people because he was actually a real street dude, you know, like actually outside every day, you know, selling drugs with guns, all that, like, you know, so it's just like, it hurt me and it's shocking because that's my brother, you know, but I know that this is his lifestyle and that's what come with his lifestyle."
Next up, FBG Brick. The Flyboy Gang, or FBG, was one of the most prominent crews in Chicago's drill scene, and their story is marked by incredible talent and unspeakable tragedy that would devastate the group for years, my G. One of the crew's founding members was a rapper known as FBG Brick, whose real name was Jermaine Robinson, though he also went by Jamo in the streets. FBG Brick was part of Chicago's Flyboy Gang, Gangster Disciples, brother to FBG Duck, known for street anthems. As the brother of the crew's most famous member, FBG Duck, Brick was instrumental in building the FBG brand and sound from the ground up, you feel me? But yo, being part of FBG also meant being a target, plain and simple, no cap. The crew's affiliation with the Gangster Disciples in their neighborhood, which they frequently referenced in their music, put them at odds with several rival factions, particularly those aligned with the Black Disciples. On July 17, 2017, at age 26, he was shot in Chicago by Get Back gang rivals. FBG Brick and his girlfriend, Brittany, were both killed in the shooting, which occurred in the South Shore neighborhood, a double homicide that shocked even the most hardened observers who'd seen it all. Fast forward to now, the alleged killer, Mikado 600, died in jail.
One of the killers, just the person who they said did it, he died in jail. McAdoo 600.
Up next is another Chicago rapper who lost his life to his ops, Lil Jeff. Lil Jeff, a rising Chicago drill rapper and close affiliate of Lil Durk, met a tragic end in 2013. Known for his raw lyrics and street authenticity, Jeff was gaining attention in the local rap scene, particularly through his association with the OTF, Only the Family movement. However, Chicago's drill scene was deeply entangled with violent neighborhood rivalries, and Lil Jeff's name was often mentioned in diss tracks and social media disputes that mirrored real-life tensions. On a cold November evening, Jeff attended a party on the south side of Chicago. As the night wore on, a confrontation reportedly broke out outside the venue. When Jeff and a few friends stepped out, a car pulled up and gunfire erupted. Multiple shots were fired, striking Jeff several times before the attacker sped off into the night. He was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to his injuries shortly after arrival. The news of his death spread quickly through social media, sending shockwaves across Chicago's drill community. His murder was never publicly solved, becoming another grim reminder of how street feuds and music rivalries often turned fatal in the city's drill movement. Trenches did an interview on Vlad TV explaining Lil Jeff's murder, where he said,
Paperwork can say he was hit 19 times in the chest area.
He was shot 19
times. And that's how I think they grabbed Rob for the murder, because it's overkill. It ain't self-defense 19 times.
The next rapper on our list to succumb to gang violence is Young Dolph. Young Dolph, born Adolph Thornton Jr., was a celebrated Memphis rapper known for his independent grind and motivational street anthems. By 2021, he had built a successful career, owning his masters and running his own label, Paper Route Empire. Despite his success, Dolph's life was marked by repeated attempts on his life, fueled by long-standing feuds in the Memphis rap scene. On November 17, 2021, Dolph made a routine stop at Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies, one of his favorite local bakeries on Airways Boulevard in Memphis. He was inside buying cookies when a white Mercedes-Benz pulled up outside. Two masked gunmen jumped out, armed with automatic weapons, and opened fire through the store's window. Dozens of shots were fired in seconds, striking Dolph fatally before the shooters fled the scene. He died instantly at just 36 years old. News of his death devastated fans and the entire Memphis community. Tributes poured in from across the hip-hop world, mourning not only his loss, but the cycle of violence claiming successful artists. Several suspects were later arrested, but Dolph's death remains a haunting example of how fame and success can't always shield artists from the dangers that follow them from the streets. Later, the shooter confessed saying,
"I shot through the glass, so I wasn't close up on him. I was shooting through the glass. I saw him standing by the window. I just got out and started shooting."
But yo, the Flyboy gang members were always being targeted, and no one was safe no more. FBG Duck. Yo, if there was one figure who symbolized the tragic intersection of drill music talent and gang violence, it was Carlton Weekly, known to the world as FBG Duck. As the leader and most successful member of Flyboy Gang, Duck had transcended local fame to become a nationally recognized artist with millions of views on his music videos and a legitimate shot at mainstream success, real talk. But yo, Duck's success also made him the biggest target in the city, the ultimate prize for anyone trying to make a name. As the face of FBG, he was seen as the ultimate prize for rival gang members looking to make a statement to get their stripes. His beef with rival Chicago crews, particularly those affiliated with O-Block and the Black Disciples, was well documented in his music and on social media, playing out for the world to see. Diss tracks flew back and forth like missiles, each one escalating the tension and increasing the likelihood of violence. Everyone who knew the situation knew something bad was coming. It was just a matter of when. On August 4th, 2020, at age 26, FBG Duck was ambushed and shot in Chicago's Gold Coast by O-Block rivals. Multiple gunmen emerged from vehicles and opened fire in broad daylight on a crowded street, hitting Duck and two others, not caring about witnesses or cameras or nothing. His mother displayed her rage, saying,
"And they gotta be the dumbest motherfuckers in the world to take their ass on Oak Street and kill somebody at 4:26 in the fucking afternoon."
Despite being rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, FBG Duck was pronounced dead, gone forever. Now, speaking of O-Block, we gotta talk about their biggest star, who would meet his own deadly fate just months after Duck's murder, proving that nobody's safe in this game. King Von. On the other side of Chicago's gang war was an artist who would become one of drill music's biggest stars, and whose storytelling ability elevated the genre to new heights, making him one of the most respected lyricists in the game, no cap. Davon Bennett, known professionally as King Von, was affiliated with O-Block and the Black Disciples, the same crew involved in FBG Duck's murder. King Von was a Chicago rapper, signed to Lil Durk's OTF, affiliated with O-Block, Black Disciples, known for storytelling tracks like Crazy Story. Von's music was different from typical drill. He crafted intricate narratives that played out like short films, with multiple characters, plot twists, and vivid details that painted pictures in your mind like you were watching a movie. Crazy Story and its sequels showcased his ability to weave compelling tales that kept listeners hooked from start to finish, wanting to know what happened next. On November 6, 2020, at age 26, King Von was killed in a shootout in Atlanta with Quando Rondo's crew, rival affiliates. The shooting left Von critically wounded, bleeding out in the parking lot. He was transported to a hospital but died from his injuries. Quando Rondo, who was at the scene when King Von was attacked, narrated the incident where he said,
"Boom, bam. I walk from the car. I turn around to walk up. I see a group of, it's like I had an out-of-body experience."
He was only 26 years old, at the peak of his career, with a posthumous album that would debut at #1 on the Billboard charts, showing what he could have been. The Chicago casualties just kept piling up like bodies in a morgue, and one of the original pioneers of the drill sound would be next, proving that even the OGs weren't safe. I-600. Yo, the casualties of Chicago's gang warfare extended to the pioneers and veterans of the drill scene, not just the young rising stars coming up. Real talk. Corday Ely, known as Edai 600, was one of the original members of Team 600, the gangster disciples-affiliated crew that helped birth the drill sound that would eventually take over hip-hop and influence the whole game, you feel me? Edai 600 was a Chicago rapper from Team 600, Gangster Disciples, collaborator with Lil Durk. As an early collaborator with Lil Durk, who would go on to become one of Chicago's biggest rap exports and a multi-platinum artist making millions, Edai was part of the first wave of drill artists who put Chicago's sound on the map and influenced a generation of rappers worldwide. His music captured the intensity and danger of Southside life, and he was respected as an OG in the scene, someone who'd been there from the beginning, someone who'd seen it all go down. His close friend, Breezy 600, felt like Edai was always comfortable in Chicago when he said,
for him to make it as far as he did and then die from being comfortable, because he didn't have that same paranoia that I have when I'm in Chicago, because Ede got so much love in Chicago, he felt like, I'm good. Wherever he at, I'm good. That's how he feel.
By the time of his death, Edai had been in the rap game for years, having survived numerous conflicts and close calls that should have taken his life, dodging bullets literally and figuratively, staying alive when so many others didn't. He had seen many of his friends and collaborators fall victim to the violence, attending funeral after funeral, eulogizing brothers he'd grown up with, and he had tried to use his music as a way to escape the streets and build something better for himself and his family, trying to get out the hood. But yo, escaping completely was nearly impossible when you were that deep in it, when you'd been in the mix for so long, when everybody knew your face and your name. On August 1st, 2021, at age 32, Edai 600 was shot outside Chicago Medical Center by rival gang members FBG Cash, yo, the Flyboy gang, already devastated by the losses of FBG Brick and FBG Duck, would suffer yet another tragedy that further decimated the crew and left them wondering who would be next, who would be the next one in a casket, the next one to get that call about. Tristian Hamilton, known as FBG Cash, was one of the surviving members trying to carry on the legacy of his fallen brothers while avoiding the same fate that had claimed them, living every day like it might be his last, constantly looking over his shoulder. FBG Cash was a Chicago rapper, part of Flyboy gang. After Duck's death in 2020, Cash had become one of the more prominent remaining members of FBG, continuing to release music and represent his fallen crew members in everything he did, keeping their names alive through his bars. He had survived multiple attempts on his life and was well aware of the constant danger he faced every time he stepped outside, every time he posted his location, every time he did anything public. Despite the risks, despite watching his brothers die one by one like a horror movie that never ended, Cash continued to live in Chicago and to move around the city, refusing to be completely intimidated by his enemies or forced into hiding like a scared man, refusing to let them win. He had survived when so many others hadn't, making it further than most, beating the odds when everyone else was falling. But survival in Chicago's gang war was often just a matter of luck and timing, and eventually, luck runs out for everyone, no matter how careful you are, no matter how smart you move. On June 10th, 2022, at age 31, FBG Cash was ambushed in Chicago by rivals. The shooting occurred while Cash was with a female companion, who was also struck by gunfire in the attack, an innocent person caught in the crossfire, someone who had nothing to do with the beef. The attack was brutal and calculated, with multiple shooters ensuring there would be no survivors this time, making sure the job was done right, no mistakes. FBG Young was so devastated to the extent of not attending his brother's funeral.
I mean, when Cash got killed, did you break down and cry?
I was fucked up. Like I ain't go to the funeral. Like I was fucked up.
FBG Cash's death was particularly painful for the Chicago drill community because he had survived so long while others had fallen around him like dominoes, one after another after another. He had made it to 31, which in the context of Chicago's gang warfare was almost miraculous, a true survivor who'd beaten the odds. But survival didn't mean safety, and his death served as another reminder that the targets never disappeared, that the beef never truly ended until everyone involved was either dead or in prison. No other way out, no happy endings. Now we got to switch coasts and talk about Florida, specifically Jacksonville, where the violence was just as deadly as Chicago, just as brutal, just as senseless, proving this was a nationwide problem. Foolio. While Chicago had become synonymous with drill music and gang violence in hip-hop, Florida had its own deadly rap beefs that rivaled anything happening up north in terms of body count and brutality. Real talk, no exaggeration. Jacksonville, Florida, in particular, had become a hotbed of gang-related violence involving rappers, and at the center of much of that conflict was a controversial figure named Charles Jones II, better known as Julio Foolio, a name that became synonymous with Jacksonville's rap war. Julio Foolio was a Jacksonville rapper affiliated with KTA 6 Block, known for diss tracks. Foolio had built a significant following through his confrontational style and willingness to directly call out rivals in his music without any filter whatsoever, saying whatever was on his mind, crossing every line possible. His diss tracks weren't subtle. They named names, mocked dead enemies with no remorse, and celebrated violence in ways that many found disturbing but couldn't stop watching, couldn't look away from, like a car crash you can't help but stare at. The Jacksonville rap scene was divided primarily between two factions, KTA 6 Block, which Foolio represented with everything he had, putting his life on the line for his set, and ATK, Ace's top killers, led by rapper Yungeen Ace. The beef between these groups had claimed multiple lives on both sides, with rappers and gang members alike falling victim to the ongoing conflict that seemed to have no end in sight, just body after body after body, funeral after funeral. Foolio's music frequently referenced these deaths and the ongoing war, which kept the beef alive and escalating with every release, adding fuel to the fire, making it worse. He had survived multiple attempts on his life, including one shooting that left him wounded but alive, and he seemed to taunt death in his songs and social media posts like he was invincible, like nothing could touch him, like he was untouchable. Many warned him that his luck would eventually run out, but he didn't listen, kept talking crazy, kept pushing the envelope. On June 23, 2024, Foolio was in Tampa, Florida, celebrating his birthday with friends, trying to enjoy himself, trying to have a good time. Despite being outside his home territory of Jacksonville, despite taking precautions and being careful about his movements, he was tracked down by his enemies who had been waiting for the perfect opportunity, stalking him like prey, watching his every move. On June 23, 2024, at age 26, Julio Foolio was ambushed in Tampa, Florida by ATK rivals. The shooting occurred at a hotel, and Foolio was struck multiple times by gunfire, bullets tearing through him, ending his life in what should have been a celebration. He was pronounced dead at the scene, blood pooling beneath him on his birthday, dying on the day he was supposed to be celebrating life. At 26, one of Jacksonville's most notorious and talented rappers was gone, another casualty of the Florida rap wars. His death sent shockwaves through the Jacksonville community and beyond, as fans and critics alike reflected on the deadly consequences of the confrontational style of rap that he had embodied, that he had taken to the extreme, that ultimately cost him his life. Foolio was always being warned about his dangerous style of rap.
I'm just worried that if you still stick to that same blueprint, it's going to end badly. So, as someone who's been doing it, as someone who's 47 years old, who's seen the same type of sad story over and over again, you've gotten to where you need to be to get noticed.
We're going to end this list with a death that shook not just hip-hop, but the entire world. My G, a legend who was trying to do right by his community, trying to show a different way, trying to be the change. Nipsey Hussle. Yo, we end this list with a death that shook not just the hip-hop community, but the entire world. A loss that hit different because of who this man was and what he represented to so many people across the globe. Ermias Asghedom, known to millions as Nipsey Hussle, was more than just a rapper. He was an entrepreneur, a community activist, a role model, a visionary, a father, and a symbol of what success from the streets could look like when channeled positively into building something lasting, something that could change lives and transform communities for generations to come. Nipsey Hussle was a Los Angeles rapper and entrepreneur, affiliated with Rollin 60's Crips, known for Victory Lap. Raised in South Central Los Angeles, Nipsey had been affiliated with the Rollin 60's neighborhood Crips since his youth, but as he matured and grew as a person, as he gained wisdom and perspective through life experience, he became focused on uplifting his community rather than perpetuating violence, choosing to build instead of destroy. His album Victory Lap was nominated for a Grammy and showcased his growth as an artist and a man who had wisdom beyond his years, who understood the game on a deeper level than most, who saw the bigger picture. Nipsey had invested in his neighborhood, opening businesses including the Marathon clothing store on Crenshaw Boulevard, creating jobs and opportunities for people who never had them before, giving people hope. He preached entrepreneurship, ownership, and education to young people, trying to show them a path out of gang life, while still respecting where he came from and never forgetting his roots, never turning his back on his people or acting like he was better than them. He worked with police to reduce gang violence and was planning even more ambitious community projects that could have transformed his neighborhood, that could have saved lives and changed the trajectory of his whole community. Projects that could have been a blueprint for the entire country. On March 31st, 2019, at age 33, Nipsey Hussle was shot outside his store in LA by Eric Holder, also Crips member, stemming from a gang-related dispute over snitching accusations. But what sets Hussle apart was his desire to fight until his last breath.
He was fighting the whole time. He fought hard. Up until he went to the hospital, he was still breathing and he was doing good.
Gang violence has led to the demise of countless great talents, a sad narrative that doesn't seem to end. If you enjoyed this video and would like more informative stories, click on any of the cards on your screen.